Welcome to Monza and welcome to a new season of the Formula Renault Eurocup. David Addison trackside and the grid starting to take shape. The cars just released to do the installation lap round onto the grid a little bit later than planned because of earlier delays in GT qualifying sessions. But we are just about ready to go for this first 30-minute plus a lap race. The grid based on the time set in qualifying this morning. It's dry, unlike how it has been for much of the week. Certainly when they were testing on Thursday and yesterday morning for free practice, they've had a lot of wet to contend with. It's not the warmest of days in Italy, but at least it is dry for now. The weather forecast for tomorrow is somewhat different. The grid will have Lorenzo Colombo lining up on pole position. It's a new car for this season as well, the new Formula Renault FR19. Still a 4-cylinder 2-litre Renault engine. With 270 brake horsepower. It's a Tatuus-built chassis, but badged as a Formula Renault FR19. And you'll see when the cars line up that it's a very modern-looking car indeed. And with the halo device, apes the current Formula 1 car and other junior single-seater categories. And with an entry which has some returning drivers and some new names, we're in for, as ever, around Monza, a very spectacular doubleheader and for a great season. Car number 2 there is that of Kyle Collett, who lines up near the back of the grid. In fact, he's on the penultimate row. Kyle Collett, who drives for the RAce GP squad, but last year's French Formula 4 champion. And Kyle Collett will be a man to watch to see what progress can be made up through the order. Pole position to Lorenzo Colombo, who drives for the MP Motorsport. Now, he's one of the returning drivers, 6th in the championship last year. You see the new shape of the car, a little bit wider, the halo device there, all the aerodynamic aids, as you would expect. But we know that at Monza, in a single-seater, you can overtake, you can slipstream, you can get a tow, and therefore this promises to be a very spectacular race. Last year's race is rather affected by safety cars and incidents. We'll see what happens in the course of this first 30-minute race. 17 laps you can anticipate, because that's what we got last year. And so as the drivers make their way to the grid, this is what they will see. The teams are there, the grid boards are there, marshals are there to wave them into position, and all the grid markings carefully laid out. Hugo de Wilde will be on the outside of the front row. Number 1 there, Oscar Piastri, who was 8th in the championship last year, 2 podium finishes, so bringing the experience back into the series this year. He could be another driver who comes out on top, but he's only 6th on the grid, so Piastri with some work to do. He's another of the RAce GP drivers. There's the pole position driver then for MP Motorsport in the largely orange car, Lorenzo Colombo, the Italian driver. And for the inside of the front row of the 1x1 staggered grid is Hugo de Wilde, the Belgian driver, who was the runner-up to Kyle Collett within the French Formula Renault Championship last year. JD Motorsport is the squad that operates the pink and grey car, and Hugo de Wilde will be eager to make a decent start, try and get himself ahead of Lorenzo Colombo. Leonardo Lorandi is 3rd on the grid in the JD Motorsport car. He was 2nd in the Italian Formula 4 Championship last year, so he knows about Monza. And then lining up alongside him in number 41 will be the M2 competition entry of Kushmaini. In fact, he will, when he gets to the grid, line up alongside him, but Kushmaini is not yet there. Maini, who was 3rd in the BRDC British Formula 3 Championship last year. Number 12, looking down on the grid, is Lorenzo Colombo, and a very special guest at the front is Fernando Alonso, who's with our reporter Dakota Jane.
Fernando, what a massive congratulations. You're here back on another grid. How fantastic is it to be down here on a Formula Renault grid?
Yeah, it is great. Obviously, it's just the first race of the year, but yeah, it's good to see the team and the cars all together for the first time. And yeah, we've been a little bit unlucky today with the qualifying and some issues, brake issues for Callan especially, but yeah, the race is long and we aim for top 10.
Tell me a little about your involvement with this team. What a spectacular livery you've got. I noticed it all the way from the front of the grid.
Yeah, my input was the livery.
Just the livery?
Yeah, I was the design of the colors. The rest is obviously the help from DriveX. And yeah, obviously a starting point for us is the first year that I have a single-seater team. A lot to learn, a lot to improve, but yeah, we have a great group of people, and yeah, the involvement is going to be a little bit coming to the races, following the team, try to help as much as I can. Also the involvement coming with McLaren, try to take the drivers to the simulator and learn the tracks, and as much help we can give from our side.
Is it nice to be here at a Blancpain GT weekend? We've got some spectacular cars here performing over the weekend. How about Spa 24 Hours? I know you like special races. Is that a special race on the cards for you?
It is, obviously. It's very very important race. Maybe not for this year. I'm already quite busy from all the calendar that I have, but for the future is something on the list for sure.
We look forward to interviewing at Spa 24 Hours and Blancpain GT. Thank you very much, Alonso.
Fernando Alonso then, the FA in FA Racing by DriveX. And Fernando Alonso, who of course came from junior single-seater racing. He first made his name in what was the Nissan-powered single-seater category, Spanish-based, but the Spanish driver with a busy programme of events, as he says, for the year, but also overseeing the FA Racing by DriveX team, which has Brad Benavides, Cullen O'Keefe making a welcome return to Formula Renault. It's a bit like a time warp, this, seeing him back, and Patrick Schrott. They're the three drivers. The grid is now formed, so Kush Maini has arrived. He was a bit late on parade, but he has gotten there for fourth on the grid. And very shortly, we'll have the countdown, the spectacular colours on the FA Racing team. Fernando posing for photographs on a big wave. It's good to see. Having been, of course, a Ferrari driver, still very popular at Monza. And it's a great shame that he's not on the Formula 1 grid these days, but his competitive spirit keeps him in the sport in different capacities. So very shortly, everybody will be marshalled off the grid, and we'll get the final formation lap underway for this 30-minute race. The top speed of the cars around here, estimated to be 248 kilometres an hour, 32 gear changes a lap, and the fastest lap in a race, therefore the lap record, a 1 minute 49.9 from the earlier generation of car. It'll be interesting to see, now it's a properly dry circuit, they've got some proper mileage under their belts, how the times are going to shape up in these cars in proper race conditions. So the grid is formed, everybody making their way from that grid. Down on pole position is Lorenzo Colombo. Let's have a walk up it and see Lorenzo Colombo on pole, and lining up alongside him, it is Hugo de Wilde. There's the pole position car, and Lorenzo Colombo will have the JD Motorsport entry of Hugo de Wilde lining up with him on that one-by-one staggered grid. There is Hugo de Wilde. On the second row of the grid, the white and blue colours of Leonardo Lorandi, and lining up alongside him is Kush Maini. But the front of the grid, with two young chargers determined to go toe-to-toe on the way down towards that first chicane. So the second row of the grid, you've got Lorandi and then Kush Maini up against the pit wall side. There he is. On the third row, number 11, first of all, is Victor Martins. They're just off on the outside. Oscar Piastri's car will line up 6th. 7th, again on the outside of the grid, Esteban Muth. And Monza-born Federico Marustiti lining up 8th. 9th is where you find the Brit Frank Bird. 10th is Sebastian Fernandez stepping down from Formula 3. Yves Baltas will be next, number 42, and then it is the car of Amaury Cordial for MP Motorsport lining up with him. Alexander Smollier for our ace, and Xavier Yoravas is next. Patrick Pasma, long way back on the grid. He could be one to watch here for Arden, with Joao Vieira alongside. Cullen O'Keefe we touched on already. He's got Petr Potacek for company. Then it's Patrick Schott and Kyle Collett, with the back of the grid being Brad Benavides and Adasso Deleda. There he is for GRS. So that is how the grid lines up. And straight away, the green flag is waved and the cars are released into the formation lap then. And Formula Renault Eurocup, a championship that traces its roots all the way back to 1971, when the original Formula Renault Championship began in France. And it was very much a French series to begin with. Then it started to spread its wings. Regional championships, domestic championships have come and gone. And much of the effort these days is put into this Eurocup, away now from what used to be the World Series by Renault events. It will this year go from Monza to Silverstone with the Blancpain GT Series, then at the Monaco Grand Prix, back to a Blancpain event at Paul Ricard. It will race on the Spa 24 hours, 2 more Blancpain events at the Nürburgring, Hungaroring, and then in fact a third with Barcelona. It goes to the Hockenheim German circuit as its penultimate event, and it finishes in Yas Marina in Abu Dhabi. So it's a busy calendar for the teams. They get the double-header format at the majority of rounds, where the timetable permits, thinking about Monaco here, of course. But the championship has always been a great training ground And Max Futrell, the man that was in charge last year. Previous champions would include the likes of Lando Norris, for example, and race winners at Monza, going all the way back to 2000. Felipe Massa was a winner. It came here in 2005 and then had a very long break until 2016 when Monza came back onto the Formula Renault Eurocup. And that's here. 2 more races and history to be made. Who's going to win first time out in one of the new cars? So through they come. The Formula Renault FR19s, where the aerodynamics will allow for the toe on this section down towards the parabolica, and of course coming over the start and finish line, everybody weaving around to make sure they've got warmth into the tyres. 5.793 kilometres long is the Monza circuit. With the sun trying to break through and temperatures going up, everybody will in a moment slot into position. Hankook rubber being used on the cars this year, which is something rather different for the Renault Championship. And so as they form up, there we have the yellow flag to warn everybody that there will be the need to stop on the grid. Monza, of course, is one of those circuits where your start and finish lines are in different places. So the finish line, the timing line, the control line is there where the flag is being waved, the start line halfway down the straight, which means that there's less chance of being at top speed when you get to the first corner from the standing start, and there's also greater chance of the back of the grid being on the pit straight to see the lights. So it is Lorenzo Colombo then who lines up on pole position. We are almost good to go for this opening round of Formula Renault Eurocup for 2019. Looking down the grid then, the last few cars getting themselves into place. Lorenzo Colombo, very quick former karter, and moved into Italian Formula 4 back in 2016. He drove in the Euro Formula Open F3 style championship in Formula 4 in Germany, in Italy, and was 6th with 5 podium finishes in this championship last year. Also drove in the Formula Renault NEC. Got a podium in that as well. Hugo the Wild is the man lining up with him at the front of the grid then, and the Wild looking for a good start, the man that was runner-up with 4 wins in French Formula 4 last year. So, another new chapter in the history of Formula Renault Eurocup set to be written. The grid is formed. Green flag at the back means everybody is where they should be. The race director hits the button to put the lights to red when they all go out. Now we are racing, and a good start is made by the pole position man Lorenzo Colombo, but Hugo the Wild gets up alongside him on the inside line down towards the first chicane. De Wild has got the advantage, in fact, even though he was on the less grippy side of the grid, and it is Hugo de Wild who will lead the pack as they dive down towards the first chicane. Sharp intake of breath. Are they all going to get through here safely? So far so good, but the danger is, and there it is, there's contact in the pack. Somebody's gone around it. That's Lorenzo Colombo from the pole position that's facing the wrong way and stranded on the curb. It looks like it is, yes. Colombo missing from that leading gangler as they come through. So the pole driver, we didn't see the start, but you've seen the end of it, facing the wrong way. Everybody else goes through. Alessio De Lera at the back of the field, losing touch already as Hugo the Wild leads the pack. Leonardo Lorandi is second. Then as they break and go now through the Variante Roggia for the first time, the second of the chicanes, Hugo the Wild is getting away. Battle is on second and third. Lorandi versus Kush Miney, the Indian driver. June Miney's brother. And now as they go into the first of the Lesmo Benz, number 72 drops back 1 spot. That being Xavier Lloveras. Through the Lesmos they come. Then number 11, Victor Martins, experienced Formula Renault racer, slicks and a wing, single-seater racer, trying to gain ground, but he's actually under attack here. So everybody now makes the run down towards the Variante Ascari. Boards being prepared. Is that because we are about to get a safety car? I fear it is. We've not had that confirmed on the timing screen. It's still showing green, but it rather looks as though we are going to have an interruption at the end of the opening lap of the race. So through they come. And the timing screen is still showing a green flag, but looking out of the window, yellows and a safety car board, perhaps not unexpectedly after what happened down at the first chicane. So the safety car is deployed. And there is the reason. The pole position driver, Lorenzo Colombo's car, having been turned around, Colombo out of the car. It needs to be retrieved anyway. It's going to have to be lifted off the circuit, and you can't really do that safely while the green flags are being shown. So we go safety car. Everybody slows. The car doesn't look damaged, but couldn't get going again. Replay of the start. 1 or 2 better on their toes than others. And then let's see whether we can piece together who did what to which and to whom at the first corner. Safety car has just gone by. The pack behind goes through. So Colombo didn't get off the line that well. Lost out to Hugo de Wild on the inside line. But then I fear it was the pinch point going into the first chicane. So he got in the draft, then he went to the outside, then he got back in again. Turns in, a little bit of a lock-up, but maybe Kushmaini, who was on the inside line, got into him and just tagged him and turned him round, possibly because they were out of shot. But Maini was the one next in the queue looking to try to make a move. It could have been contact, it could have been a spin, self-induced. And so as the cars now come through the first chicane, we are behind the safety car. The race director has not yet put a yellow flag up on the timing screen, but we are very definitely under the safety car conditions, so nobody overtakes. Everyone has to stay in order, and it is just Colombo that's gone missing on that lap. It was only his car that had to be retrieved, so it shouldn't take long, hopefully, to get the race back underway. And one car has just gone out of the pit lane, which I think is Alessio De Leda, who may have also got involved, but he was at the back of the pack anyway, so he's had an exploratory pit stop and been dispatched back into the race. There's the confirmation finally that we are behind the safety car. So the race order, Hugo de Wilde it is that leads from the Italian driver Leonardo Lorandi, third is Kushmaini, up to fourth Oscar Piastri, sixth on the grid, so he's making progress. Fifth is Victor Martin, sixth is Sebastian Fernandez, in seventh place it is Federico Malvestiti, eighth spot currently Esteban Muth, ninth it is the MP Motorsport entry of Amaury Cordil, and the top 10 currently rounded out by Yves Baltas. Now how long before the safety car peels in? It'll be in this lap, in fact. We're going to go back to racing this time. So very swiftly, the situation cleared, and we'll go back to racing as Hugo de Wilde then leads the pack down towards the Parabolica, weaving around to keep the pressures up in the tyres, also the temperature there. And Belgian kart junior champion at the age of 12, went to the French Formula 4 Championship, 12th in his first season, and then runner-up last year to Carl Collet, who is further back on the grid. And the two of them set to continue this fierce fight between the two that spread over the last season as well. The man from Brussels then leads the pack as we get set to go racing once more. The cars now then turn their way out of the Parabolica up towards the timing line. We will go green once more. All of these laps, of course, counting within the 30 minutes duration. And we're back racing at Monza in round one of Formula Renault Eurocup for 2019. Hugo de Wilde leads the way, 0.4 of a second up on the car from the second row of the grid, number 25, the JD Motorsport car of Leonardo Lorandi. Kushmaini is third, having a look to the inside line, but he's about to be mugged because round the outside goes Piastri. Oscar Piastri goes up into third place. Good effort that. Round the outside he goes, and so Piastri goes by, picks up the place, and now tries to break away from Kushmaini, who gets up the inside line, going into the Curva Grande. Behind the pair of them, it's Victor Martins, and Maini is going to fight back. Look on the inside line, side by side, wheel to wheel, and Victor Martins gets a toe from Maini. He's right in the wheel tracks. Piastri one up. He's going to be one down, possibly. It is, because Kushmaini goes back ahead of him. Victor Martins tries to buy into this and get up the inside as Piastri gets a bit stuck behind Kushmaini. He goes to the inside line, hidden behind the graphic there, but he's got the inside for the first Lesmo bend, and he can't quite make the pace stick. Kushmaini goes wide, coming out of the corner. So back on the inside line, Oscar Piastri challenges once more, and he's trying to not only get third, but also make sure that Victor Martins does not find a way past him at the same time. Hugo de Wilde leads the pack then. He's trying to break away as they come down towards the Variante Ascari once more. De Wilde, Lorandi, and then this battle between Maini, Piastri and Martins for third place. The two leaders are getting away because Maini is oh so busily defending third. Piastri is fourth, Victor Martins is fifth, and then it's Sebastian Fernandez from Formula 3 last year to Formula Renault this. Next up, someone's gone way off the road there. Bouncing back onto the circuit. Thankfully, drama is avoided, but who was that getting it all crossed up? Try and piece it together in a moment as they come down towards the Parabolica. To the inside line goes Victor Martins. That's for fourth against number one, Oscar Piastri on the outside line. The door is open. Wheel to wheel they touch, and that means that Piastri gets forced out even wider. And so now Fernandez comes up to have a go as they head over the timing line. Sebastian Fernandez will go through. Yes, he's got the drive in the straight line. And after that bit of wheel banging, Oscar Piastri off the road and back on again. Through they come with the next car through, being now number 28, João Vieira, and behind him looks as though it may well have been Xavier Lloveras that was off the road. Piastri losing out again there because now up past him goes Malvestiti. But the two race leaders go out of the Curva Grande, and I just wonder whether the gap might not be coming down now between Miney in the top two. Piastri on the attack once again. There are the race leaders as they come towards the second chicane, the Variante Roggia. To the inside line goes Piastri, trying to get back ahead of Malvestiti, but he can't do it there. Through they turn. Out of the left-right sequence, speed build up towards the Lesmo curves. Number 41 is Kush Miney, but Victor Martins is doing a very good job now staying within. There's all sorts of squabbling. Lower down and more mayhem. More contact is made. Alexander Smolyar getting involved in all of that, delaying himself as he rode up the rear wheel of the car ahead. 64 through, that being Callan O'Keefe, the South African, driving for Fernando Alonso's team back into Formula Renault. Driver coach in the MRF Challenge, amongst other things, but Callan O'Keefe with lots of previous generation Formula Renault experience under his belt. Single-seater racing round Monza and Spa, always spectacular, and we're seeing a graphic example of that in the opening round of Formula Renault Eurocup. Look at this long line of cars diving down towards the Variante Ascari. O'Keefe under attack as they wriggle their way back onto that straight towards the Parabolica now. The race leaders margin just half a second at the end of the previous lap. As I say, it looks as though it was Xavier Lloveras that was off the road on the previous run through the Variante Ascari, so that cost him a whole heap of time and gave him a slow lap time as a consequence. As they come now then up over the timing line, Hugo de Wilde it is that leads the way. Second is Leonardo Lorandi. The gap is up to 0.8 of a second. Kush Miney is third, Victor Martins is fourth. De Wilde has done the fastest lap of the race as he continues to hold sway up front. Fifth is Malvestiti. Piastri possibly with damage now after that contact. He is sixth. Bastian Fernandez is seventh. Javiera is in 8th place. Frank Bird is up to 9th. Patrick Potacek is in 10th. Replay of more of the dramas going on here. And there you see Smolyar getting involved with the traffic ahead of him. And he has come into the pit lane with damage, perhaps no surprise. A third of the race is done, and it is still de Wilde in the lead of it by 0.8 of a second. Now Piastri coming back at Malvestiti here. Fernandez having also fallen away down into 7th place, dropping away from that leading gang now. Oscar Piastri chases on, but the Australian driver perhaps feeling a bit beaten up in all of this because of the incidents that we've already had. The incident at the first corner involving the poleman, Leonardo Colombo, is going to be looked at after the race. So says the race director. So there'll be a look at it post-race to see if anybody was at fault or if it was just one of those things. There, Kush Miney, now that he's got his third place back, looks as though he's bringing the gap down to Lorandi up front. So Leonardo Lorandi, it is in the lead, in second place, and that's why the gap is coming down, because Lorandi was off the road and back on again, running out of the Lesmos, bouncing over the curbs, and now Miney is on the attack. Look down towards the Parabolica, has a look to the inside line, can't do it. All of this playing into the hands of Hugo de Wilde. Alexander Smolyar is back into the race, by the way, after his pit stop, but he might well end up being lapped as he's just rejoined, and the leaders come over the timing line now to put 5 laps in the book. Hugo de Wilde leads the way. The margin is up to 1.7 seconds. He's away now, so it's game on for second place, where Leonardo Lorandi has got Kush Miney right up behind him. Miney goes to the outside line on the way down towards the first chicane. In 4th place is Victor Martins, dropping back a little. But now these two are going to hold each other up, aren't they? So Lorandi and Miney absolutely nose to tail. We've seen that Kush Miney is already proving his point as an overtaker, and he has another go on the inside into the Curva Grande, and he will go through there. Door is open. Kush Miney has the speed, but he's going to be on the outside line for the next chicane. Lorandi tries to stand his ground. Is he going to be able to keep second place? Yes, he is. He's late on the brakes. And assuming he doesn't scrabble out wide, he will be able to hang on to that second place. Third then is Miney. Fourth, and almost with them, is Victor Martins now. Victor Martins in the yellow and black car. There it is for MP Motorsport, closing up onto the back of the M2 competition entry of Kush Miney. And all of that might just help Lorandi for JD Motorsport, because if he doesn't have to defend, he can get away. But at the moment, yes, Miney is defending there from Victor Martins, and yes, Lorandi is getting away. But I'm not sure he's going to be able to do much about catching Hugo de Wilde for the race lead. That's another pit visitor, Esteban Muth, but he has just rejoined the race. And there, Miney and Martins go through 3rd and 4th. Kush Miney, the Indian driver, keeping Victor Martins at bay, at least for the moment. The French driver there behind him as they go through. So Victor Martins goes through to the Parabolica. Very wide that time goes Lorandi, so Leonardo Lorandi in second place, pushing hard, almost too hard, going wide as he came out that time of the Parabolica. Over the timing line they go now. And down towards turn one, but up front Hugo de Wild's advantage is over 2 seconds, and he's really been helped by the squabbling behind. What would go against him were there to be another safety car, but for the moment he looks like he's got a good enough margin. As for fourth place, Victor Martins is about to get mugged because past him there, look, goes Malvestiti, through goes Federico Malvestiti, gains the place, and that puts him now up into fourth spot. Federico Malvestiti then moves himself up past Victor Martins, and Piastri is back on the tail of Martin, so it's a proper yo-yo fight this. And again for second, you've got Lorandi versus Miney as they come down towards the second chicane. Piastri to the outside of Martins. Is he going to be able to go through? Yes, he is! Brave stuff. Right round the outside goes Oscar Piastri, and it works for him. He gains the place, and he also moves across to cover the inside line into the first of the Lesmo bends. The man from Melbourne up then now into fifth place, and Victor Martins, having been looking to go into the top three a lap ago, now finds himself hoiked down at the end of the top six. Second, third, still the same order. Leonardo Lorandi just ahead of Kushmini. Then in fourth place, they accelerate down towards the Variante Ascari once more. It is now Malvestiti, and that off the road is Xavier Lloveras, and that is coming out of the Parabolica, so he's expired near pit in. I wouldn't have thought that's in a dangerous place. They can probably just cover that with a yellow flag rather than need to interrupt the race. You see number 3 go through. That's the recovering Alexander Smolia after his pit stop, after damage early on, and he's way wide through the Parabolica there. Smolia comes up over the line. Second year in the championship, 12th last year. 33 through for Arden is Sebastian Fernandez, who was in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship last year. But the race leader, Hugo de Wild, laying down a marker here. Great start, and he's controlling the race. He's 2.5 seconds clear of the scrapping Lorandi and Miney. And then fourth, Malvestiti, Piastri, Martins. That's how they go through. Oscar Piastri there, on the tail, goes to the outside line against Malvestiti, going in towards the first chicane. And there's contact. Piastri rides over his own front wing, and that's the race ruin for him. One tiny touch. The wing is stuck under the car, so the pace is going to be hobbled, but importantly, the aero is going to disappear at the front of the car, and Oscar Piastri is effectively out of the race. He's going to have to pit for repairs. That will cost him a lap probably at least, and he's out of the game. So Oscar Piastri challenging for position, a brief touch, and you can see the damage, and he locks up. He's going to go straight on here for sure into the second chicane. With the nose cone stuck under the car, he doesn't want to slow, he doesn't want to turn much. He's got very little aero anymore, and Oscar Piastri may not realise quite what the drama is, but he'll certainly feel something's wrong. If he's back on, he'll be offline and heading for the pit lane now. So, briefly, Piastri was back in the game, but only for a corner. It is de Wild, Lorandi, Miney, was ever thus. Here's the touch again, look, it was just the rear wheel against the nose cone of Piastri's car, and that's enough to take the nose cone off its mount, put it under the car. The contact was against Federico Malvestiti, who may later suffer with a slow puncture. You never know, because if that's done the tyre against the wing, it could have done the tyre damage. If it's not instant, it might be building up. We'll have to keep an eye on Malvestiti as the race wears on and see whether he's got away with that or whether there's something else in the post. Down towards the Parabolica go the leaders, 14 minutes on the clock. Fastest lap of the race with a tow, Frank Bird, former Ginetta Junior racer. And Frank Bird, who's, as you look there at number 42, going up the inside. Yves Baltas going ahead of Petr Patacek. That's a change of pace. Baltas up into the top 10 now. Frank Bird, whose father is a Superbike team owner, turning his attention to car racing. Leaders go by. Hugo de Wild 2.3 seconds ahead of Lorenzo Lorandi. Leonardo Lorandi, forgive me. There, number 11 is Victor Martins, and it's Sebastian Fernandez getting onto the back of him. Now, what about Malvestiti? He's still going. His last time was a little bit impaired, but he's not the only one to have just done a slightly slower lap time either. Poleman Colombo and mid-grid qualifier Lloveras, the two retirements that we've had out of this opening round of the championship. 13 minutes are on the clock, and it remains Hugo de Wild in the lead by 2.3 seconds. But last time the gap was down a little bit, so Leonardo Lorandi did bring the gap down by a couple of tenths, possibly because he's being spurred on by Kushmini behind him. Still in fourth place, it is Federico Malvestiti, and their sixth is Sebastian Fernandez chasing on behind Victor Martins. Oscar Piastri pits, new nose cone on the R-Ace GP car, and back into the race he goes. So Oscar Piastri, the Australian, with work to do, but he will hopefully stay on the lead lap if there were to be a safety car that will bring him into the game up to a point, but still going to be a long, long way back, unfortunately. Race leaders then down towards the Parabolica once more. We're on lap 9, coming through that long right. 12 minutes on the clock, still to go. And all the shuffling going on means that now João Vieira is up into 7th, Frank Bird is up into 8th, Ian Baltas is up into 9th, and Petr Potacek into the top 10. One that's not making the progress anticipated, Patrick Pasma down in 14th place, number 31 for Arden, 6th in last year's British F4 Championship. One of a number of drivers on the grid who've done some winter racing in the MRF Challenge, Patrick Pasma. 41 going through, Kushmini now. His last lap was a 1 minute 50.128, 3,000 slower than Lorandi, so he's not quite staying on the back of him for the moment. There going through is Federico Malvestiti. He's in 4th place, but now he's a little bit too far back to get the tow. New fastest lap again, Frank Bird. So Frank Bird, who is running on the back of Vieira, being helped by that tow, doing 2 fastest laps of the race now. There is Miney, running out of ideas, it seems, as to how to get himself back onto the tail of Leonardo Lorandi. Through they go, out of the Lesmo Benz. But up front, Hugo de Wild looking as though he's going to open his account in fine style, and his rival from the French F4 Championship of last year, João Collet, down in 12th place, so that will be particularly pleasing to him. Approaching the the final third of the race, with just over 10 minutes on the clock, as the leaders now turn out of the Variante Ascari once more. It's going to be interesting now as well to see what sort of lap times Oscar Piastri can do. He's running on his own, which helps in terms of not being stuck in traffic, but hinders because he won't get a tow. But let's see how he can piece it all together. There is 51, Federico Malvestiti, and behind, Victor Martins has just for the moment shaken off there Sebastian Fernandez as they come out of the Parabolica, the old banked circuit to the right as you look at it. Over the timing line, the race leader has got 10 laps in the book, 2.4 seconds to the good he is. And again, a little bit of time pulled back on that last lap by Lorandi. Start incidents between car number 1, which is Piastri. Oh, sorry, the incident between Piastri and Malvestiti, a racing incident, so no action being taken about that, according to the timing screen, which is still putting up other messages about things being looked at post-race from the start. So there's going to be a lot to sort out, a lot to untangle at the end of this race, other than for Hugo de Wild, seemingly, who is away and gone, and looking so strong up front. Out of the Variante Rogia they come. There you see the yellow car, Victor Martins, under attack. And another new fastest lap of the race now to João Vieira, because he's done a 1:49.916. So Vieira, it is who is quicker than anybody on track. And off track there, who is that getting it all wrong? It is Vieira. The man that I've just been talking about doing the fastest lap goes off and gives another place up to Frank Bird. So João Vieira off and back on again, but it's cost him a place and it's made his tyres all grubby for the next lap as well. 8 3/4 minutes on the clock. And a replay, just too much speed, over the curb, through the gravel. Thankfully, keeping the car in the right direction, finding a bit of traction, bouncing towards the tarmac and back onto the circuit. But Bird goes through and Vieira drops a place. That's 41, that's Kushmini, graduating from British F3 for the non-FIA spec cars to Formula Renault Eurocup for this year. And Miney going nicely as he comes up towards the timing line once more. He goes through. And 2.4 seconds is the gap between de Wild and Lorandi for the race lead. It's gone up that time. And Kushmini is 9/10ths back, so he's starting to struggle. 4th is Malvestiti, who is not catching those ahead, and then it's Martins and Fernandez here. 8 minutes to go as Fernandez accelerates up towards the Curva Grande. Braking area will go Miney up at the Variante Rogia. Now, what about Fernandez getting himself up past Martins before the end of the race? It is possible. 78% of this lap they spend on full throttle. 248 kilometres an hour is the top speed they get to around the Monza circuit, with 32 gear changes a lap. Paddle shift, of course, sequential box, but it's a very fast circuit, demanding for the drivers. And there, the next scrap to be resolved. 53, Petr Potacek. He's coming under attack, isn't he now? Look, as they sprint up towards the second of the Lesmo curves. Number 42 is Yves Baltas. Potacek having got himself ahead on this lap, but Baltas trying to come back at him. Baltas drove in the Formula Open Formula 3 style championship last year. Coming to Formula Renault Eurocup 2019, 7 minutes on the clock and counting. Where's the next battle going to come from? It's not actually been quite as drama-strewn as you might have anticipated for the first round of the series with new cars. We've had some good racing, we've had some incidents, but now things are rather settled down, and the gaps have actually opened up, certainly as far as Hugo de Wilde is concerned, with this 2.4 second margin. The Belgian driver looks like he's in good form here to take an opening round win. Oscar Piastri is 18th after his pit stop, so very frustrating, but there's a separate qualifying session tomorrow morning for tomorrow's race, although the weather forecast for tomorrow is heavy rain, so it's going to be rather tricky for the drivers, to say the least, both in terms of qualifying and racing as they come by now, and that puts 12 laps in the book. The expectation with a purely green race was going to be 17 laps. We might not come up quite to that, but we'll be far off with that brief only safety car period. So Potacek ahead of Baltas. Potacek drives for the Bitec team, and Baltas for M2 Competition. Now there, Victor Martins comes up to have a go at Malvestiti. Federico Malvestiti is under attack. Is that Martins getting on with the job? Yes, it is, to the inside line. Or is Malvestiti struggling with his tyre after that brush early on in the race? On the inside line, Martins will go through. And Victor Martins picks up a place. And Sebastian Fernandez goes past as well, because there, look, Malvestiti was on the wrong line. Door was open. Still peering at the rear of the car. It was the left rear corner, wasn't it, that had the brush. Is it okay? Is it going to get to the end? Let's see as the leaders come down towards the Variante Ascari once more. 5 minutes on the clock. So now, Victor Martins gains a place and starts to charge on. See whether or not he's going to be able to gain more before the end, although he's some way back from Kushmini. He was over 2 seconds adrift, so he's going to have to really work hard. I don't think that's going to happen, in fairness, but Martins is going to have a go. Now, Malvestiti has not given up. He's back in the tow. He's having a push, that's for sure, as he comes into the Paramolica. He's on the outside line, that's brave. Can he swoop all the way around the outside? The black car runs off the road and will get back on again, just about. He's up the curb. Federico Malvestiti on his home circuit. He's born in Monza. He comes up, then past the pits. He's got his nose back in front. Malvestiti goes through, but Fernandez stays alongside him. Sebastian Fernandez in the Dayglow red car on the inside line will brake as late as he dares. Going down towards the first chicane. He's going to get the place back. Is he on the inside line? No! Round the outside with very late braking goes Federico Malvestiti. Great move, that. And he's back up then into 5th place, but for how much longer? Because straight away Sebastian Fernandez has a go on the outside of the Curva Grande. The outside here is the inside for the first part of the Variante Roggia. To the next sequence of corners they go, side by side. Fernandez, number 33 with the green mirrors, goes back ahead. Job done. Good thinking that. He braved it out on the outside all the way around the Curva Grande, so he was in the right place on the road for the next corner, and he has gone back ahead. The fastest lap of the race, incidentally, has been done by the race leader, Hugo de Wilde, getting away, pulling clear, and lapping quicker than anybody now on a much lighter fuel load. It's looking really good for Hugo de Wilde. It'll be interesting to see tomorrow's grid and tomorrow's race, how things are going to look in comparison with today. Down they swoop once more. There, Victor Martins still hunting down Kushmini, but he's going to run out of laps, I think, here. So 3 minutes on the clock. Then there's the regulation lap, because it's 30 minutes plus a lap, so you're looking at the countdown, but there will be a full lap at the end of the time. A lot of track time, therefore, given to the drivers. Junior single-seater racing, not a cheap way of going motor racing, and with testing, free practice, qualifying, long races, Renault making the championship as appealing as possible to young drivers and to their budgets. Hugo the Wild, the race leader, goes through. New fastest lap, though, Leonardo Lorandi. So he's having another push. He's 1.9 seconds back. He's just taken 6/10 out of de Wild. So late race, Lorandi is having a really good go. Has he looked after the tyres a little bit better? Can he continue to push and can he continue to close? Let's see. It's there. Look, Fernandez goes through, keeping Malvestiti behind him. They turn their way into the Curva Grande and now make the run towards the Variante Roggia. Just thought I had something rattling a little bit there from Malvestiti's car as he went by, but looks okay, and he's still got the pace to stay on the back of Fernandez as they go now through the chicane. Victor Martins further up the road. Now, how are we doing for the race lead? In the sectors, Lorandi taking hundreds out of de Wild's advantage on this lap, so he is finding a little bit of pace, but not as much as he did on the last lap. So maybe that was an error by de Wild, as much as Lorandi being able to speed up slightly. Of course, the closer you get, the more you benefit from the toe anyway. There is the race leader, Hugo the Wild, with traffic ahead of him. He comes down now, and he's pulled away again by a couple of tenths in the middle sector. So Hugo the Wild able to regroup. It's Alexander Smolia just up ahead of him, will need to be negotiated shortly. Third place, Kushmaini, and then in fourth, you can see a little bit further back is the yellow car, the yellow and black livery, very Renault that, of Victor Martins. Fifth, the red car, Fernandez. Behind him, it is Malvestiti, and there, Frank Bird and João Vieira battling amongst themselves for 7th and 8th, but actually closing on the leading 6. The leader has gone by, and the gap is up again to 1.989 seconds. There's this lap and one more, because the clock will hit 0 on this lap, and then we'll have the regulation lap tagged on at the end. Fastest lap of the race then to Lorandi. And there, look, you can see Malvestiti back ahead of Fernandez. In the background, Vieira comes back up on the inside of Frank Bird and goes through and gets the job done. I wasn't convinced he was going to slow down in time, but he has done it. So good effort that by Vieira, but also Malvestiti back up into 5th, but for how much longer? Because here comes Fernandez. Sebastian Fernandez on the inside line this time. And that's going to be the outside for the first part of the Variante Roggia, but it'll be the inside for the second. So can Malvestiti fend him off? Look in the background, Bird lines up to have a go. Yes, Malvestiti can fend him off. And what's going to be next? It is just Vieira fending off the car of Frank Bird. Fernandez back to the outside line now as they come into the first of the Lesmo corners. Right, short straight, right again. Federico Malvestiti under attack. So the clock has hit 0, and there'll be one lap at the end of this for Hugo the Wild. That's all that stands between him and a race win. Victor Martins goes through in a rather lonely 4th place now. 5th and 6th are there, and it remains then Malvestiti and Fernandez getting a bit sideways. Interesting as well, you see the way that Vieira, having gone back ahead of Frank Bird, he's pulling away. Gap widening then a little between those two. Into the parabolica, they now swing through that long right-hander onto the pit straight once again. Then as they do so, the race leader 2 seconds clear. Now Hugo the Wild stamping his authority on the race. Yes, Leonardo Lorandi has done a better fastest lap, unless de Wild can do even better on the final lap of the race, but the way that he's driven Hugo de Wild has been mighty impressive, that is for sure. There in 5th, Federico Malvestiti, then down towards first chicane. Everybody else pouring over the timing line, and inevitably a few hard luck stories, one of which will come from Piastri, whose lap times never really got back to the same sort of pace as the race leader. Not far off, but not as quick as he needs to be. There, outside line Fernandez, inside line Malvestiti, no change. Federico Malvestiti hangs on to his 5th place. They're both being caught, though, on this last lap by João Vieira. So what can he do about the top 2 ahead of him here in this battle? They're not the top 2 in the race, but they're the next 2 that he needs to be going after. And he's almost with them as they've been squabbling a little bit. So the Brazilian, João Vieira, is almost there. He's only got to find another second. Well, in the first sector of the lap, he managed to find a little bit of pace. A couple of tenths clawed back. And now up towards the Variante Ascari for the last time. The next section of circuit with a toe will really help him. But for Hugo the Wild, it looks as though the race win is going to go his way. There he is, turning the car now, setting it up for the Parabolica. He will go through the right-hander and then sprint up towards the timing line. Honours in round one of Formula Renault Eurocup for the new Formula Renault FR19 chassis on Hankook tyres for the first time will be won by Hugo de Wild. He's the race one winner, and he wins by a margin of a second and a half. He backed it off a little bit towards the end, but it's a win for Hugo de Wild from Leonardo Lorandi in second place, and third, Kushmani, a good drive by the Indian driver. Fourth will go the way of Victor Martins. Fifth to Federico Malvestiti, and sixth spot goes the way of Sebastian Fernandez. But a very impressive drive, no argument about that, from Hugo de Wild. Everybody else comes pouring over the line. 7th, João Vieira. 8th, Frank Bird. 9th place going the way of Petr 10th to Yves Baltas. Callum O'Keefe getting up to 11th in the end. So the drivers make their way towards the Parc Fermé area, and once that is done and they've gone through the technical checks, then we might be able to hear from our victorious drivers. But Hugo de Wild, just a mighty impressive effort. You can't really find any fault with that, and job very well done indeed. So as the drivers make the run back to Parc Fermé, de Wild, Lorandi and Miney will be the three drivers for the podium. And race 2, all being well, it's going to be tomorrow at 1:15. The pit lane will be open and the race gets underway at 1:30. All being well, and I say that because of the rather bleak weather forecast. The top 3 drivers will be allowed through, and everybody else waved into the paddock at the back of the circuit. The Monza paddock absolutely full this weekend. You've got lots of single-seater teams, of course, here for Formula Renault Eurocup. Lots of GT teams as well for the opening rounds of the assorted SRO Run GT series that are here. So drivers head to Parc Fermé, and Hugo de Wild celebrates a race win in very impressive form. So Hugo de Wild wins the opening round of Formula Renault Eurocup from Leonardo Lorandi, and then Kushmani in 3rd place. Victor Martins takes 4th from Federico Malvestiti. 6th, Sebastian Fernandez from João Vieira, and Frank Bird in 8th place. Petr 9th from Yves Baltas. 11th, Callum O'Keefe, and then Carl Collett. 12th, Patrick Pasma 13th. Brad Benavides 14th, and Patrick Schott, Swiss driver, in 15th place. After that, you get to the people that had problems, because Alessio Deleda had to make a pit stop. Amaury Cordil struggled a little bit. Oscar Piastri we saw with damage and a pit stop. Esteban Mut pitted. Alexander Smolja had damage and a pit stop as well. And then we lost Xavier Lloveras and Lorenzo Colombo early on. But Hugo de Wild is a delighted man, and understandably so, because that was a very impressive drive indeed. And he will embrace the team, and a perfect way to start the season for him.
Look at the wheels, the wheelbase. It's everywhere.
So as the drivers then now clamber free of the cars. A good win for not only, of course, Hugo de Wild, but also for the team that operates that car in the Formula Renault Eurocup this year. So, for JD Motorsport, a job well done. Kushmani, helmet off. Hugo de Wilde there. And the race winner being embraced by everybody, I think, after the impressive drive. Handshakes all round. The technical team looking after the cars to make sure everything is good there. Fernando Alonso makes his way through Parc Fermé. So at the top end of the pit lane, the Formula Renault cars go through the technical checks. All those other teams coming down the pit lane are the GT squads, ready for the next activity on track here at Monza. And the fans getting ready for a busy afternoon of action, that's for sure. Some being more enthusiastic about it than others. So we'll hopefully, as I say, hear from our winning drivers very shortly, and look forward as well to tomorrow. But the weather gods may have other ideas about that. Hugo de Wilde then is the race winner. He's with Dakota.
Congratulations, Hugo. What a fantastic race that was. I bet you're well happy with 1.5 seconds win.
Yeah, it was a fantastic race. I can't believe it. I took a good start. I managed to be first during all the race. So yeah, big thanks to my team who gave me a really good car.
That's good. Anything improvements for tomorrow?
Yeah, I don't know. Tomorrow it will be the rain, so let's see. But no, I'm quite confident.
Congratulations for today. Thank you.
Not a wheel wrong. Perfect drive by Hugo de Wilde then to take honours. And as the drivers now make their way to the podium, we have the top three discussing the race with Leonardo Lorandi and then Kushmaini set for the podium as well. So the drivers up to the podium, and as they head there, you heard Hugo de Wilde just talking about the weather tomorrow, saying that it could be very different, and if some of the forecasts are right, it's going to be rather hard to go racing because there's so much rain forecast. It's going to be very, very difficult indeed. However, let's try and stay positive about all of this because weather forecasts aren't always accurate. But for now, Hugo de Wilde has done an excellent job to score race honours here at Monza. And it's going to be a championship now that is full of interest to see whether he can stay on top, who is going to be the nearest opposition, and of course it's a long season, what will happen over the course of the year. The drivers are ready. Dignitaries from Renault and Hankook, of course, are ready as well for the presentations, and they will all step forward in a moment or two's time once we've got the drivers and everybody is called forward. Hankook tyres on which they run this year. So Hankook being represented. Hans Wickler from Hankook is there, and the fans get themselves ready for GT4 action. That's going to be coming up, in fact, on track next. But for now, podium getting underway, and the Formula Renault Eurocup with its new car, a very modern shape, proving to be a big hit. Go back through the history of the Formula Renault Eurocup, it reads like a who's who of international single-seater racing because so many good drivers have come out of it. But it continues to be a very important category, and although Renault's activities have changed over the years within motorsport, that remains a core element of Renault's programme, and of course the driver development programme, which takes some of the best people from the Eurocup and promotes them up the ladder. So, I think we're just about ready. No, we're not, says the Renault Sport official. Kushmaini there discussing with Leonardo Lorandi, Hugo de Wilde in the background. they going to be all smiles at the end of the season? Because there's an awful lot that will go on between now and the end of the year at Yas Marina Circuit in Abu Dhabi. So imminently we will be good to go, one hopes. And then Formula Renault Eurocup's opening round of 2019 can be celebrated. So there we have the drivers. And I think the signal has now been given that yes, we are good to go. So out they come. Kush Maini for third place is the first driver to the podium. Second place, Leonardo Lorandi, and there is Hugo de Wilde, who will go to the top step. And the drivers are ready for the national anthem of the winning driver. So for Hugo de Wilde then, the Belgian national anthem, and journalistic father is going to be very happy about all of that. There'll be a lot to write about post-race. And Fernando Alonso there you see on the podium as well, ready to assist in the presentations, but the trophies will go to the drivers. Third place trophy for Kush Maini, new to Formula Renault Eurocup this year. And not a bad start with a podium finish. Leonardo Lorandi will get the second place trophy. And a good effort. He almost got himself in touch with Hugo de Wilde, but then of course ended up having to defend and lost the toe and was never able to get it back after that. And for the race winner, Hugo de Wilde, the trophy will be presented by Fernando Alonso. And Hugo de Wilde then all smiles. There will be the Hankook Trophy as well, which will go the way of the race winner. So the trophy will be shown, be presented. And Hankook, which has always been a big supporter of single-seater racing, now turning its attention to Formula Renault. And it's quite a coup to come into this arena. Race 2 tomorrow. We look forward to more great racing. For now, from David Addison at Monza, it's goodbye.